Black Ops 4 is a game that many consider to be one of the black sheep of the Black Ops series and the Call of Duty series as a whole. It was a game that was considered a major disappointment and even a failure during its prime, but over the years, the perception on this game has changed, being that 7 Call of Duty games will come out after this one, and the overall mainstream reception of the franchise has shifted into the worst it has ever been. Black Ops 4 is a game that has forever changed the way that many of us look back at the franchise, considering that Modern Warfare 2019 onwards are some of the most reviled games in the series, despite how well each game has sold. Apart from Black Ops 7, the latest game in the Black Ops series, it is the number 5 best-selling game of the year in the US, which sounds good on paper, but then you have to remember that the last time a Call of Duty game was this low in the top 20 games of the year was Call of Duty World at War. And to make matters worse, it didn't even break the top 5 most downloaded game on the PlayStation Store. It is not only the worst performing COD game since 2008, but it is considered by many to be both the worst in the Black Ops series and the worst COD game ever made, which is hilarious in retrospect considering that a lot of us have said the same thing about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, Modern Warfare 2, and Vanguard. Black Ops 4 is the strange awkward middle child that sits right in between the golden and silver eras of Call of Duty and the current dark era of Call of Duty. It is called Call of Duty Black Ops 4 in almost name only, as the only thing that it has in relation to Black Ops 1 and 2, and especially Black Ops 3, are characters that appear as playable multiplayer skins. It is an amalgamation of a handful of different genres of games. It can never coagulate into what it should be at its core, a Call of Duty Black Ops game. I'm going to be blunt here, I absolutely love this game. In fact, I would go as far as to call it a top 10 Call of Duty game. But despite my love and appreciation for it, there is no denying that it can never reach the heights that it wanted to achieve. I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, as I have a lot of very fond memories of playing this game with close friends that I still talk to all these years later. But I must put aside the rose-tinted glasses because this game is not a masterpiece. It is a game that is chock full of wasted potential of what could have been, and game-breaking issues that can plague the user experience, thanks to being unable to break away from past bad habits from previous games, is mismanagement from the developers, and just overall greed and tomfuckery from Activision Blizzard. Today we're going to take a look at the history of how this game even came to be, how during development this game didn't even closely resemble what the final product even ended up being, and why, despite all of its massive gaping flaws, is the reason why I still love Call of Duty despite how truly awful the series has become all these years later, and why I still look back at a game like Black Ops 4 in reverence. I find the history behind this game to be utterly fascinating. This will also be an opportunity to tackle the common misconception that the COD series was dying and needed saving during this period, and how Modern Warfare 2019 didn't really move the needle whatsoever. Swacked. Black Ops 4 is the first mainline Call of Duty game to not have a traditional single-player campaign. Instead, the game features stand-in modes such as its Battle Royale Blackout and the Specialist HQ, which is basically a series of glorified multiplayer tutorial missions with occasional cutscenes giving backstories into each of its characters which take place chronologically between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. For the longest time, the details regarding the very troubled development towards a campaign mode for this game was very slim, with only mere breadcrumbs given to us by design director David Vonderhaar and Dan Bunting, who was the current studio head at Treyarch at the time. However, in 2022, a massive document was posted on Reddit with all of the details surrounding the scrap campaign, codenamed Career Mode, including several hundred leaked screenshots of what it looked like, and now we have a pretty full picture of what the campaign was actually going to look like. The post has however been deleted, so I had to go searching for it, and I did find it on some random archive website. Most of the images that I'm going to present in this video are from early 2017 builds of the game, so a lot of the environments and user interface will appear unfinished. There are quite a handful of cutscenes that were cut from the game, as well as a bunch of concept art for a bunch of planned levels, but we still have a bunch of screenshots of what it was actually meant to look like. Black Ops 4's campaign was originally envisioned to be a 2v2 race to the finish mode, as covered by Jason Schreier in his 2019 article covering the workforce abuse inside of Treyarch. The mode was ultimately scrapped in early 2018 due to technical issues and negative playtester feedback, on top of the game being set to release a month earlier in October instead of November 2018. The idea was to take the foundation of the campaign and evolve it into a sort of cooperative live service that would connect to the multiplayer and the specialists, effectively creating a singular narrative universe that could also attract players who normally don't play COD campaigns. And while creating a 2v2 experience was the focus point, you could have also been able to play career mode with AI bots as well. Your actions during each mission would have genuine consequences. In some cases, the next mission and story would play differently depending on who won and lost. You would have been able to choose between two factions, the Free People's Army, or the FPA, and the World United Nations, or the WUN. Players would pick their preferred faction and compete against each other completing objectives. During the game's development, it was stated that the game is meant to take place in between Black Ops 2 and 3, but that turned out to not be true. It was actually supposed to take place in the year 2070, after the events of Black Ops 3, and most of the launch weapons, maps, and specialist designs were created with this narrative in mind, hence why, for example, Ruin has a tattoo that was not present in Black Ops 3. Just like in Black Ops 3, you would earn XP by playing through career and unlocking new weapons, equipment, perks, etc., and also be able to customize the appearance and gender of your character. There are also a ton of cut weapons that were in Black Ops 3, like the KN-44, the HVK-30, the BRM, and the 205 Brecci. Aside from the career mode, there were also plans to add in other modes to further supplement this live service model, including a custom game mode creator for career and the return of the Zombies campaign Nightmares from Black Ops 3. I find it to be tragic that all of this ended up never coming to fruition, because there is a bigger problem than just not having a single-player campaign for everyone to enjoy. Even though over the years the majority of players spend their time in multiplayer and zombies, the lack of a campaign means that there is no longer anything used as a foundation for the rest of the game. How many times have you played an older Call of Duty game like Black Ops 1 or Modern Warfare 2, and you got chills just listening to the music and the announcer voices at the start of a match?
Enemy recon play! Team deathmatch! All must stand as one!
Team deathmatch. Let's do this.
Domination. Capture the objectives.
Reaper on. Deadly force is authorized.
The single player did a lot of the heavy lifting and grounding the rest of the game. Call of Duty multiplayer, and the third mode, whether it be Zombies or Spec Ops, was always in some way connected to the campaign. The campaign is what helps set the setting, the tone, and the atmosphere of the game. The specialists in Black Ops 4 were meant to be tied to the career mode, what was meant to be a continuation and further explanation of the absolute nonsense that was Black Ops 3 that still could have connected itself to the Black Ops ethos is now forever shackled and lost to time. The fact that Treyarch was not confident in how this was shaping out to be was the first sign that something was starting to go seriously wrong at the studio. Fans were genuinely outraged at the lack of a single-player campaign, and already pushed the narrative that the Black Ops series was dead, and yet this is right off the heels of Black Ops 3's campaign, which was considered by the masses to be the worst campaign in the whole series. So the question becomes, do you really want another Black Ops 3? Train Go Boom, The Frozen Forest, I Am Taylor, Everyone Is Taylor? Because I sure don't, and I would imagine that's what Treyarch didn't want either. But rushed development and not being able to cohesively put something together that players would enjoy is what caused its cancellation. But not having a campaign at all is also what hurt the game in the long run, so really they were doomed no matter what they did. Fucked if you do, fucked if you don't. Black Ops 4 multiplayer is much different from every other COD game. Just like with the campaign, the multiplayer that I know and love today was much different in earlier builds of the game, and you can still see remnants of those earlier builds in the final product, such as the very odd Fog of War mechanic that was also just changed into the traditional minimap system. In the earliest builds of the game, it just looked like Black Ops 3 again, and a handful of weapons never made it to the final cut of the game, such as the MR6 pistol. Black Ops 4 is a game that promotes team effort over individual play, whether it's due to the higher time to kill, non-lethal specialist abilities, manual healing, an assist counts as kill mechanic straight from Battlefield, and favoring elimination per death ratio and score per minute over kill per death ratio. Keep in mind that all of the footage that you're going to see in this video is captured from Project BO4, which is a modded client for PC that allows everyone to play the game without having to deal with constant cheaters and having all of their personal information stolen from basement-dwelling troglodytes. Black Ops 4, along with every other older Call of Duty game on PC right now, are virtually unsafe to play because of something known as a remote control execution, or an RCE for short. Anyone who doesn't know what this means, I will put it in short terms if I can. An RCE is when an attacker accesses a target's computing device and makes changes remotely, no matter where the device is located. RCEs have a broad category of attacks that can either have minor effects on a victim's system, but they can also be quite serious. A famous example of an RCE is the WannaCry ransomware worm, which spreads by exploiting a vulnerability in the Server Message Block Protocol, or SMB for short. This vulnerability is what allows an attacker to execute malicious code on a person's machine, enabling ransomware to access and encrypt valuable files. Nira Cinema, who is a prominent voice in the Call of Duty community, has been a victim to one of these RCE attacks while just trying to play Black Ops 2 on Steam on the vanilla servers. And the most recent famous example of people getting attacked was when Call of Duty World War II was put on both the Xbox Game Pass and the Windows Store, to the point that Microsoft had to step in and remove the game from those services. The name of this RCE exploit is known as CVE-2018-20817. It is an RCE that allows attackers to execute code on the victim's PC when sending an authentication request to Steam when attempting to launch the game, which is where the damage starts to happen. And the games that are affected by this are Call of Duty 1 from 2003 all the way up to World War II, with Black Ops 4 also being affected by this. By being able to remotely access your computer, the attacker basically has access to every single thing that's on it: your system files, photos, task manager, browser history, your email account, your social media accounts, your bank account information, and even your IP address, which means DDoS and doxing attacks. This is because these old Call of Duty games do not have any sort of dedicated servers or up-to-date anti-cheat software, because Activision Blizzard are so bad at their job that they can't even put in the most minimum amount of effort necessary to keep these games up to date so that people can actually play them safely. But even on console, these games are not much better in terms of constant cheating and whatnot. This is exactly why the community has been stepping up to try and fix this bullshit. That's why these modded clients are necessary, and more people need to know about them and what's going on. Because the average dad gamer who just wants to relive some classic nostalgia and doesn't do the research beforehand are the ones who are the most vulnerable. Hell, children who never play these older games and don't do the research are also the most vulnerable. I feel like it is necessary to bring all of this up because the excuse that Activision gave to everyone years ago as to why Black Ops 4 would not be on Steam and instead be exclusive to their all-new Battle.net launcher was because it's the first Call of Duty game to have its own dedicated servers and modern anti-cheat, at least modern at the time. But now in 2026, that excuse just falls flat on its face, because now after Black Ops 4, every Call of Duty game would also have their own dedicated servers as well, and Black Ops 4 to this very day is still not on Steam, even though every single COD game after it is on Steam now. Even the most hated ones in the whole series, like Modern Warfare 2, Vanguard, Black Ops 6, and Black Ops 7. Even other games that were massively hated are on Steam now, like Overwatch 2 for example. So why in the hell can't they just put Black Ops 4 on Steam? Why is it still the only COD game that isn't on the platform? Everyone quit playing Black Ops 4 because of the rampant cheating that was happening in the game. Not to mention, no one wants to buy Black Ops 4 on Battle.net anymore. It's just a terrible launcher. They would rather the game just be on Steam, like every other game. Because it's still to this day just left to rot on Battle.net, the player numbers basically died, and yet Activision is still charging money for it, which I honestly find to be extremely disgusting and disrespectful, not just to the player base, but to the developers who worked on it. This game does not deserve to be as shafted as it is. It is just one of the many reasons why I despise Activision Blizzard as much as I do, and that Black Ops 4 was the last time that I ever spent my own money on a Call of Duty game. The only reason I even own it on PC was because it was given to me as a Christmas gift by my lovely friend Samir Violets VT, another huge FPS VTuber like me, and someone who loves Call of Duty just as much as I do. So all of the footage that you're going to see is me playing on the Project BO4 client, fighting against a combination of both bots and real players. But enough about that, let's talk about the actual gameplay. Weapons, equipment, perks, and kill streaks are gained from ranking up, with having to earn them again every time you choose to prestige. The maps are some of my most favorites in the series: Lockup, Hacienda, Contraband, Arsenal, Icebreaker, Casino, and Masquerade all come to mind. As much as I love this game, I'm going to have to put the rose-tinted glasses aside, because there are dozens of game-breaking balancing discrepancies between the various weapons, specialists, perks, and kill streaks in the game. This is bar none one of the most broken and unbalanced Call of Duty games in the entire franchise. Let's start with the weapons first. The balancing of the weapons is absolutely all over the place. The power discrepancy between a weapon like the MX-9 and the SOG, or the GKS and the Cordite, or the KN-57 and the Rampart 17, or the Switchblade and the VMP, just to name a few examples, is simply astounding. The Maddox is an assault rifle, but it could be classified as one of the best submachine guns in the entire game, due to its high rate of fire, low recoil, and high damage. In previous Call of Duty games, there was no doubt at least a few very overpowered weapons that would be the meta. For example, the UMP-45 in Modern Warfare 2, the ACR and the MP7 in Modern Warfare 3, the FAMAS and the AK-47 in Black Ops 1, and the MA-A7, the A94, and the SCAR-H in Black Ops 2. But in Black Ops 4, almost every single weapon is considered to be broken or overpowered. The Rampart 17 with high caliber 1 and 2 along with fast mags is the best gun in the game. The Vapor with an elo sight, suppressor, stock, and fast mags is the best gun in the game. The SOG with an elo sight, fast mags, grip, and suppressor is the best gun in the game. The Spitfire with fast mags, extended mags, and a laser sight is the best gun in the game. The Cordite with a grip, laser sight, and the belt chain feed operator mod, which practically makes it shoot infinite ammo, is the best gun in the game. The Hades with hybrid mags, laser sight, and the crossbar operator mod, which lets you hipfire the gun with insane accuracy, is, you guessed it, the best gun in the game. And don't even get me started on the Paladin. If you slap FMJ2 on it, then it drastically increases the amount of damage dealt to score streaks, to the point that it destroys score streaks far faster than any launcher that's in the game.
Sniper's nest.
But I think by far the most egregious example of broken weaponry in this game is none other than the infamous Mach 12 shotgun. This may seem like a normal shotgun, but then that changes completely once you slap on the long barrel, barrel choke, and the Dragon's Breath operator mod. It turns from a shotgun into a goddamn sniper rifle, probably the most powerful sniper rifle in the game, considering that the damage is so high that it becomes a one-shot kill at almost any perceptible range. To give you an idea of just how powerful this shotgun is, let me show you this little montage I put together. How anyone thought that this was a good idea to balance a shotgun just blows my mind. There are just so many examples of how you can build the most broken meta weapons in the whole game, and the weapons are just part of it. Now we move on to the specialists, which also completely break the balance of the entire game, even despite the fact that Black Ops 3 also had specialists and a shorter time to kill, and even though that Black Ops 4 put a hard cap on the amount of the same specialist that can be on your team at once. This is because every specialist is now given a secondary gadget to complement their specialist weapon. Ruin gets a grapple hook, Battery gets a cluster grenade, Recon gets a portable radar, Ajax gets a 9-bang, Crash gets a resupply bag, Reaper gets a radar jammer, Zero gets an EMP grenade, and so on and so forth. I can see what they were trying to do here, because the game is trying to be more team-oriented. Having utility versus utility should add depth to how the game plays. It's supposed to promote team communication and synergy. Crash can give himself and his teammates an extra 50 HP with his ultimate ability, and then throw it on a resupply to give himself and his team ammo and a boost towards gaining kill streaks. Recon's portable radar and vision pulse works not just for him, but for the whole team as well. Seraph has a tactical insurgent that her team can use to spawn on, which is good for game modes like Hardpoint, Control, and Safeguard. If Torque's barricade or barbed wire is blocking the way, then Zero's EMP grenade, Battery's cluster grenade, and any character who is sacrificing a pick 10 slot for a frag grenade can make quick use of them. The problem is that the vast majority of the gadgets in the game are more suited towards individual play over your teammates. Take Firebright's reactor core for example. Yes, it is very good at helping the team, but there is literally no reason to use it other than just to rack up a shitload of kills against unsuspecting enemies so you can call in score streaks, which doesn't benefit anyone other than yourself. Why would I use Battery's cluster grenade to destroy barricades and barbed wire when I could just throw it into a room and possibly kill 3 or 4 people and rack up way more points as a result? The same also goes for Ajax's 9-bang and Riot Shield, being able to shoot out the front of it while staying safe from gunfire. Why would I use Zero's Ice Pick to hack the enemy team and disable their HUD when I could just use it to destroy and hack kill streaks? Why would I use Seraph's Tac Insurgent when I could just trade it for a concussion grenade, which is just way more powerful? Ruin's Grapple Hook, Nomad's Dog Companion, and Prophet's Seeker Drone literally do not benefit anyone on the team. The most selfish equipment that only benefits individuality isn't even a specialist gadget or weapon, it's the Stim Shot. It lets you heal yourself twice as fast, and it recharges 3 times faster. It's literally used to help you stay alive much more efficiently, so why would you not use it? So because specialists have an additional method to get the jump on you and get a cheap kill on you, they become way more annoying to deal with than they were in Black Ops 3. And some of these specialist weapons are just absolutely busted. Reaper's Scythe literally kills enemies in just 2 shots with insane range and accuracy. Outrider can use an explosive bow that insta-kills upon a direct hit, and the explosion can also kill other enemies and help you rack up even more points. Spectre gets a katana that kills people in 1 hit, has an MW2 Commando autolock type of lunge ability, and he can also roll, which not only doubles his movement speed, but it also disables aim assist. This shit is just broken. But I don't think anything in this game compares to Zero. Zero is, without question, the most powerful specialist in the game, bar none. Her Ice Pick ability allows her to take over and destroy enemy score streaks, which is broken for the exact same reason that the various specialist weapons are broken. Score streaks, especially in this game, which I'll get into, are extremely powerful tools for helping you overwhelm the enemy team and finish matches faster. The difference between score streaks and the specialist abilities is that the score streaks have to be earned from racking up points without dying, whereas specialist abilities run on cooldowns and therefore are just given to you. The ice pick takes the logic of earning kill streaks for playing the game effectively and completely just throws it out the window, essentially punishing players for earning score streaks, and this is for one specific reason, and that's because the ice pick prioritizes hacking and destroying score streaks over hacking enemy players. All you have to do is to just press a button and effectively make all of the enemy's kill streaks worthless.
Sit rep. Enemy gunship inbound.
Target identified. Engaging.
Don't let them take you down.
Spare rifles. We're out of here.
Lost the hard point.
Brute force attack running.
Her EMP grenade also destroys everything it comes into contact with, temporarily disables the enemy's HUD, and has insane blast radius. Everything on the map that can be destroyed or temporarily disabled can net a bunch of free points towards your score streaks. If you're 1, 2, or even 3 kills off of your score streak, you can just throw an EMP grenade, rack in the points, and then just call them in. Zero absolutely screams get out of jail free card. There is no other specialist in the game that lowers the skill ceiling as much as she does, as the only thing you have to do to completely screw over the enemy is to just press one button. There is no skill behind it. Zero also serves as the perfect segue into demonstrating just how absolutely diabolical the score streak system is in this game. It's so bad that you can be thrust into impossible to come back hell on earth scenarios where your first instinct is to just leave the match and search for a new one. It also doesn't help that a handful of maps in this game are brought over from older games like Black Ops 1 and 2, maps that were not originally designed with specialists, sliding, and infinite sprinting in mind. Score is earned not just from getting kills, but also from using specialist weapons and abilities. This also applies to the specialist weapons in Black Ops 3, but there is one major key difference here. The game has an assist counts as kill mechanic from Battlefield, meaning that you don't even have to win your gunfight in order to get the full amount of points. The difference with Battlefield is that in order to get the credit for the kill, you have to inflict at least 75 damage to the enemy. But here, you can literally just put a singular bullet into the enemy, but if they die within a short period of time, you still get the full amount of points towards your kill streaks. There's no such thing as assists anymore like in the previous games. This combined with the extremely overpowered specialist weapons and abilities means that it's far easier than ever to earn score streaks in this game, and if you decide to equip the ComSec device instead of the stim shot, you can earn score streaks even faster, because it acts like the hardline perk from Black Ops 2, where it reduces the points that you need to get the streaks. The score streaks themselves are also some of the most powerful streaks in the franchise, that's not even hyperbole. The moment you decide to call in a combination of the Sniper's Nest, Mantis, and the Thresher, or the Sniper's Nest, Mantis, and the Strike Team, or the Attack Chopper, or the Sniper's Nest, Thresher, and the Strike Team, just to name a few examples, it's basically game over. Because there is another very big reason why the score streaks are so powerful in this game, and this might be one of the dumbest things the dev team has done. Why they did this, I have no idea, and that's what they did to the Cold-Blooded perk. Cold-Blooded is basically Blind Eye from Black Ops 2 and 3. It's supposed to protect you against AI-controlled score streaks, and yet for some godforsaken reason, it doesn't work like how it did in those previous games. It got a significant nerf. Now, it only works around 50% of the time, so even if you have it equipped, you can still get killed multiple times by score streaks. Why? Why would they do this? So because of how exploitative the point system is, how strong the score streaks themselves are, and the fact that the only perk that is used to counter them only works half the time, means that it all blends together into a very hostile environment, especially towards newer players, where matches quickly devolve into who can get the broken overpowered score streaks the quickest, and then the entire match turns into a massive pissing contest to see how long it takes before the other team decides to rage quit from the match because of how heavily one-sided it all becomes. Matches can end where the score difference between each team is so large it's unbelievable. Take a look at what happens here once I pull out my specialist weapon, rack up a bunch of kills, and then start calling in all my score streaks.
Sniper's Nest on standby.
Sniper's Nest on standby.
He left the game. Here it is again. And again.
Rolling around to re-engage.
He left the game. This happens a lot, and while you can make the argument that I'm fighting against mostly bots, the core issues of the score streak system, specialist system, and the overall lack of balance in the weapons still remain. Not to mention, if you're playing this game on console, all the points that I've made still stand, which is even worse when you consider just how absolutely atrocious the monetization is. The game has the supply drop / loot box system from Black Ops 3, where all of the post-game content, if you can even call it that, is completely locked behind RNG. A vast amount of DLC weapons, which are some of the most powerful guns in the game, along with a bunch of other things like cosmetics, emotes, sprays, weapon skins, and weapon variants are all paywalled behind this loot box system. As you play matches, you earn supply drops, which you can then open up to receive items. There are over 1,000 items in the supply drops, and you can get duplicates, which means the chances of you getting something that you actually want is so insurmountably low that the system feels purposefully designed to force you to spend money on microtransactions to open up more of them. This is the biggest problem that everyone had with Black Ops 3's loot box system. Black Ops 4, however, does this a bit differently, but I wouldn't say it's that much better. Instead of opening up supply drops right away, you can instead save them up and use them as a sort of currency to directly purchase what you want. You earn supply drops by leveling up, ranking up in the seasonal battle pass, and also by completing daily and weekly challenges. But this is only a band-aid solution to the problem. One of the main reasons why is because of how overly grindy it is to even get enough supply drops just to unlock one weapon. You need to get somewhere between 40 and 50 supply drops to unlock a single DLC weapon like the VMP, the Cap 40, the AR-94, the M16, the Stingray, the Peacekeeper, the Ballistic Knife, etc. So because there are so many DLC weapons, the amount of time it would take to unlock everything by just playing is simply ungodly. Again, this doesn't actually fix the core issue. It's just a system designed to get people to spend more money, which is pretty scummy, especially when you consider that this game also has a $50 season pass. So with broken weapons, broken characters, and a broken killstreak system, you would think that I absolutely hate this game. And yet, I don't. In fact, I think that's the whole fun of it. Let's compare it to another Call of Duty game which is beloved by everyone, Modern Warfare 2 2009. This game is also considered to feature the most broken and unbalanced multiplayer in the whole franchise. Almost everything in this game is considered to be overpowered. The UMP-45 suppressed, the ACR suppressed, the RPD with a thermoscope, the SCAR H with either a suppressor or the extended mags, the stopping power perk, one-man army noob tubing, the danger close perk, the commando perk combined with the tactical knife, the last stand perk, stun grenades, the Harrier strike, the pave-low, the chopper gunner, the AC-130, and the intervention combined with sleight of hand pro and stopping power, which is what birthed the dawn of quickscoping and trickshotting. Not to mention being able to use your kill streaks to earn even more kill streaks, which is how people have been able to earn the tactical nuke in record time. The game is also plagued by dozens of game-breaking issues that'll make you want to activate your immediate fight or flight response. And yet, this game is beloved by everyone, but people hated this. What exactly is the difference here? I can't speak for the community, but is it because people just don't like specialists because it feels like it's trying to copy other popular games? Or is it because people were just expecting a proper Black Ops game and sequel to the previous ones? Is it because it's too similar to Black Ops 3 just without the boost jumping? Is it because by this point everyone was starting to feel franchise fatigue, considering that this is right after 3 consecutive futuristic boost jumping games and everyone was getting sick of it, so the franchise needed to have a fresh new start? Personally, I think it's a combination of all of these reasons. But I love Black Ops 4's multiplayer for the same reason that everyone loves Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, and it's that I love the pure unadulterated chaos of it. This is one of the few games that when I'm having a good match, I feel absolutely invincible. It feels absolutely horrible to get shot on in this game, while at the same time, the game does a very good job of making you feel like you're just unstoppable. I love the fast-paced nature of this game. It feels suited to how I've always played Call of Duty games for the last 15 years, which is fast and aggressive. Something that the newer games punish me for doing, and I'll get into that. Oh, I have a lot to say about that game. The slower time to kill means that gunfights are much more rewarding, as opposed to MW2, where whoever wins the gunfight is dependent on who can aim their sight the fastest, which is how MW 2019 also does its gunfighting. I also believe that this is the last COD game that had some genuinely great maps, something that I despise the most about the later games, which I think is the perfect segue to start talking about why I hate Modern Warfare 2019 onwards as much as I do. I've tried countless times to try and like Modern Warfare 2019. I've tried so many times over the years to give it a chance and to try to see what other people saw in it, and I just can't. I can't stand this game, and I can't stand the irreparable damage it has done to the series. What do I mean by that? Let's start with why I hate how it plays so much. Modern Warfare 2019 is hands down one of the slowest, most campy, and most mind-numbingly boring games I've ever played. It plays nothing like the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and it doesn't even play like the newer games like Black Ops Cold War and Black Ops 7. It barely even feels like a Call of Duty game, but instead I feel like I'm playing FPS Red Rover, will somebody please move even 5 inches out of the spawn area in the back of the map. Everyone remembers this infamous clip from when the game was in its prime. Even now in 2026, this is still pretty much how this game plays. It's nothing but people just constantly sitting in corners, holding angles, and standing behind head glitches and windows just waiting for someone to show up, either with a 7.25 shotgun, an M4A1, an AS-Val, or any weapon that has a thermoscope on it. This game has some of the worst shotgun, thermoscope, and claymore spam I've ever seen in a competitive shooter. How many times have you played this game and a guy is holding a stairway with claymores all over the place, and if you decide to push them, you either get blown up by a claymore or a bouncing Betty, or you get immediately one-shotted by the 7.25 shotgun. This happens almost every match, and this is mainly due to a bunch of seriously stupid design decisions. How ridiculously large the maps are with indestructible doors, windows, and head glitching spots littered all over the place for people to sit behind, how insanely loud the footstep audio is, making dead silence a necessity and yet it's no longer a perk, the time to kill, which is so short that you can barely react to when someone is shooting at you, and the removal of the traditional minimap system from previous games, where you no longer appear on the minimap when shooting an unsuppressed weapon, but instead you pop up on a compass that's on the top of the screen, which doesn't tell you where the enemy is exactly, because the compass does not give you the enemy's distance and altitude. I also can't forget to mention how they completely reworked the Ghost perk. In previous games, the perk would only work while you're moving, defusing bombs in search to destroy, using kill streaks, etc. But now in this game, Ghost only works while you're standing still, which again just promotes slow and campy playstyles. This all creates an environment where no one wants to move the entire match, so when someone like me decides to play the game the same way I've played the previous games for 15 years now, I get absolutely spit roasted. An environment where the biggest accomplishment is being able to reach 20 kills in a match of domination, meanwhile some other people can barely reach 10 kills, and where matches always end before the score limit can even be reached because of barely anything happening during the matches. This game has some of the worst map design I've ever seen in the franchise, all for the exact same reasons. I get shivers whenever I see screenshots of maps like Piccadilly, Azir Cave, Atlas Superstore, St. Petrograd, Cheshire Park, Hackney Yard, Miastor Tank Factory, Euphrates Bridge, Soldo Harbor, and Grasna Raid, all just absolute stinker maps, which is exactly why whenever I played this game all I ever wanted to play on was Shipment, Shoot House, and Kill House. I decided to reinstall this game to record footage of it just to show you how often this still happens. 90% of my kill cams is just this. Because of this makes MW 2019 one of the most rage-inducing games I've ever played in my entire life. I feel nothing but pure unadulterated anger and misery while playing it. It brings out the worst in me. Every time I play this game with friends, I do nothing but complain about campers and not finding anyone to shoot at the entire time, which is exactly why when Black Ops Cold War and DMZ came out, they felt like breaths of fresh air, because I felt like I could actually play the games now. And how can I not talk about Modern Warfare 2019 and not mention the atrocious skill-based matchmaking algorithm it introduced? Yes, skill-based matchmaking has always existed in Call of Duty, as far back as Black Ops 2, but MW 2019 is the first game where they went completely overboard with it. It's a matchmaking system that not only still exists today, but seems to have gotten worse with every new game that comes out. This combined with disbanding lobbies, along with all the other problems I mentioned, is the reason why a lot of people quit playing these games, and that's all thanks to MW 2019 starting these awful design decisions that the series is still suffering the repercussions of to this very day. Bigger and bigger maps, shoving doors and windows all over the place, tack sprinting, shorter time to kill, changing the minimap system, an overabundance of sliding, skill-based matchmaking resulting in having more ping and packet burst, disbanding lobbies, more and more visual recoil, thermoscope spam, and footstep audio that is so loud that it can be heard from halfway across the country. All of this started from this game. That's why I hate it as much as I do. It feels like a game that is meticulously designed to appeal to the lowest common denominator of players, people who are bad at FPS games, whereas decent players like me are the ones who suffer the most. And because of how successful the game is, and because of Activision being total greedy shitheads, it set a horrible precedent for the series moving forward. It gave Infinity Ward an excuse to double and even triple down with their refusal to stray away from convention from MW 2019.
Here are some things we have heard from you on minimap.rules. This is a big one, right? Are we going to be getting the classic minimap? No, and it doesn't make any sense. So they say currently in the Modern Warfare 2 beta, we only show enemy player dots while a UAV is active. The design reason for this is that we do not want to punish players for firing their weapons. We also want players to actively search out the origin of a gunshot versus just traveling directly to where the dot is on the minimap. We continue to gather feedback on how the game is playing in regards to this topic. What kind of nonsense is that? And the same thing with Prestige mode. They haven't mentioned Prestige mode yet, but we had Prestige mode for over a decade, and then out of nowhere, they're like, you know what? We bet you guys don't like that as much. We're gonna get rid of that. We're like, what? Who wants Prestige mode gone? Who wants the minimap reworked? It's Dead Silence is another hot topic, as many players have expressed that they would like to see it as a perk instead of a field upgrade. We believe it is important to game health that rushers are not able to move at high speeds without consequences. Dead Silence as a field upgrade creates a balance between freedom of movement and predictability of combat. So at least they gave us a reason, but it's a bullshit reason, dude. Like, going back to it, we've had Dead Silence or Ninja or whatever as a perk in the COD franchise for over a decade, ever since Call of Duty 4. So firstly, thank you to everyone who played the Modern Warfare 2 beta the last 2 weeks. We have loved seeing all of you playing our game and creating amazing moments. If you haven't already, please share them with us on social media and we might reshare some of our favorites. All right, as we head into launch, we are going to be making some adjustments based on learnings from the beta. All right, here we go. One of the most important parts of the beta is having you, the players, find new bugs and issues for us. We are grateful to the community for coming together to help us fine-tune this game, and we can't wait to show you even more. Well, how much is there, man? You wrote like 4 sentences. There's like not even a whole lot to this blog post. But continuing on here, while we are working hard on a ton of content for you to play at launch and beyond, here are a few things that we wanted to highlight. While sentiment around footstep audio was more positive in Weekend 2, I don't know about that. We have seen your continued feedback on the volume of footsteps and will continue to balance enemy and friendly footstep audio ahead of launch. That's it. That's all they said about footstep audio. They didn't mention Dead Silence, nothing like that. They're like, yeah, it was better in Weekend 2. Believe us, it was better, even though it didn't really seem that way. And we're going to keep on making adjustments, and chances are it's going to be basically the same at launch, is what I feel like they're saying right here, but we're going to have to wait and see. Moving along here, enemy visibility is something that came up throughout both weekends of our beta. While many of you remarked on the improvement in Weekend 2, it was a little bit better. We'll look to tweak increased enemy visibility to allow for better visual tracking of opponents that is not solely the traditional nameplate. What? So they're doubling down that enemies should not have nameplates. People are saying, and this is so funny because people are getting roasted for not remembering how things actually worked. They're saying back in the day, we didn't have nameplates in Call of Duty. Who needs them? COD 4 had nameplates. Modern Warfare 2 had nameplates. Modern Warfare 2's nameplates were so prevalent that it was a part of Cold-Blooded Pro to make it so your nameplate didn't show up, for crying out loud. Now it's built into like the core game, and they just don't want to have traditional nameplates there. They want to make it confusing for some reason. All you get for your teammates is a little blue dot, a green dot if they're in your party, and then enemy players don't have anything. It's really hard to tell when there's a bunch of chaos going on who is who. But regardless, they are against the idea of the traditional nameplate, and they're going to be trying to make it so visibility is better going into the launch. So kind of like with footsteps here, it sounds like we heard your feedback, but fuck off, we know what we're doing.
Even Black Ops Cold War, which I believe is far superior to MW 2019, still has a handful of the exact same issues. The only reason I even sunk 300 hours into MW 2019 is because it was given to me as a gift from a friend and they wanted to play with me, so we did, and I wanted to make sure that they got their money's worth. I played this game so much that I got skins from the shop for free by racking up enough COD points from each battle pass. Yes, the graphics are amazing, the sound design is orgasmic to the ears, the animations are smooth like Land O'Lakes butter, and the music is simply fantastic. But the gameplay is just shit, and every other game after it also plays like shit. I have a 1.92 KD on the PlayStation version of Black Ops 4, but in MW 2019 I barely passed a 1.2 KD. Something is clearly wrong here. This is why I would rather much play an older game like Black Ops 4, Infinite Warfare, and Black Ops 3 over a game like MW 2019, MW2, Vanguard, and MW3 any day of the week. Does that mean I like Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7? No, absolutely not. Those games are also terrible for their own reasons. But it doesn't change the fact that Black Ops 4, despite all of its glaring problems, is a game that is way more suited to how I like to play Call of Duty and what I believe Call of Duty is at its core, and that's a fast-paced arcade twitch shooter, and not a realistic milsim that it so desperately wants to be. Not to mention, these older games have little to no skill-based matchmaking nor disbanding lobbies, unless you decide to play on their respective PC modded clients, which have zero skill-based matchmaking. Black Ops 4's multiplayer is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but just from playing it, I could tell that the developers wanted to do something different, and I commend them for that. But because of rushed development, mainly due to the pure greed of Activision Blizzard that genuinely needs to be studied, means that the game was never able to achieve what it truly wanted to. and it's tragic. It's a multiplayer game that I genuinely enjoy playing. It's what I believe to be the last genuinely great multiplayer game. And that's just talking about multiplayer. I haven't even gotten to talking about Blackout and zombies yet. Treyarch was not afraid to take risks, and that's something that modern COD also suffers from, is being afraid to take risks and instead playing it safe.
Removed enemy hacker.
And now, we finally move on to Blackout, the very first battle royale of the COD series. A lot of the career mode stuff that I talked about earlier was scrapped but then used to create this new battle royale mode. This is where Treyarch spent a lot of their time working on, and it really does show in the final product. At one point they even wanted to add in the giant walking robots from Black Ops 2 Origins and have them roam around the map, but it unfortunately never made it to the final build, probably due to technical issues. There was even supposed to be Blackout 2, and it was actually teased in Black Ops Cold War, but again, it never happened, for reasons that to this day have not been told, but I just think it's because of Warzone. This battle royale is what makes this game stand out among the people who played this game. I still look back on this game very fondly. Out of all the battle royale games that I've played, this is by far one of my most favorites, and I would easily play this over Warzone any day of the week. However, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows when it first came out. It had a handful of technical issues, balancing problems, and also only having one life, meaning that dying sends you straight back to the menu, which is especially frustrating when you're playing with a squad of friends, because if you die, then there's literally nothing for you to do until everyone else dies. Blackout attempted to fix this by adding in a mode called Down But Not Out, where you could respawn up to 5 times before the final circle as long as there was still at least one person in your squad still alive, which is basically the predecessor to Resurgence from Warzone. After that, we got a mode called Hot Pursuit, which is basically like Cops and Robbers but in Blackout. It has the exact same respawn system like in Resurgence, except now there are police vehicles everywhere that can be used to locate supply drops and other players if the sirens are on. This shit was just pure chaos and I loved it. So did my older brother. We used to play this all the time when it first came out. The tense gunfights that we would get into in the last couple of circles, doing drive-bys, running people over, I can't believe they never did this again. Unfortunately, it is extremely difficult to record proper footage of this game in 2026, mainly because the player base doesn't exist anymore on PC. No one plays Black Ops 4 on Battle.net anymore, and no one really plays on the Project BO4 client, which is why the people who are working on it are trying to add functional bots to the game, since the original build of Blackout doesn't have bots, and the client gives you the ability to start matches whenever you want to, regardless of how many people are in the lobby, because if there aren't enough players in the lobby, then the match just won't start. But they still have a long way to go. So until then, all I can do is just run around the map solo and show you just how much effort Treyarch put into the map of the game. There is so much attention to detail in this map, it's just oozing with charm and love towards the studio's history. There are many iconic locations borrowed from previous Black Ops games, such as Hijacked from Black Ops 2, Raid from Black Ops 2, Nuketown from Black Ops 1, The Diner from Black Ops 2 Transit, Stronghold from Black Ops 3, Buried from Black Ops 2, and Verrückt from World at War, just to name a few examples. There are quite a lot of interesting things that were added into this game, like vehicles, the mystery box, airdrops which reward people who dared to risk their lives to get to one of these, and even zombies. Running through this map again feels surreal. Remnants of a game that had been lost to time. I'm honestly taken aback by how amazing this game looks for a 2018 game. It looks better than the newer Call of Duty games, and perhaps that is because of art style over graphical fidelity. But how can I not talk about Blackout and not mention Alcatraz, which is known now as Rebirth Island and is basically a straight rip of Mob of the Dead from Black Ops 1. This map is way smaller than the standard Blackout map. Gunfights are constant. This was so popular with fans that it's been reused in every single iteration of Warzone. This map was perfect not just for completing challenges to unlock cosmetics, but also for getting friends together to play a few quick matches, considering that it also brings over the respawn mechanic from Down But Not Out. It's much more chaotic compared to the standard map, which is more slow and methodical. I actually did manage to record one match of Alcatraz, but it was just a 1v1 against another player. This game feels more tactical than Warzone, where every choice you make is a risk. Nowadays, the current iteration of Warzone, which will be the Black Ops 7 version at the time this video was created, is virtually unplayable, mainly thanks to the skill-based matchmaking, the spastic omni movement that was introduced in Black Ops 6, the insane sliding distance meaning that everyone now slides all over the place like dogs that have worms, terrible optimization, controller aim assist and rotational aim assist that is so strong now that it has become flat-out destructive to the competitive integrity of the game, and yet PC players do not have the option to disable crossplay, constant cheating, and the addition of the insanely powerful grapple hook, which everyone and their mother are screeching like banshees about online. I also really hate how the game now requires to be installed on an SSD, or else it just does not work. I tried. It's just completely broken. I only have 1 terabyte on my SSD, and yet Warzone requires 170 gigabytes. There is no way in hell that I'm going to use up almost 200 gigabytes of my SSD just for one game, and not even a good game at that. I'm already forced to have a few other games installed on my SSD. It costs $300 on Amazon just for a 2 terabyte SSD. What in the fuck are we doing here, Call of Duty? Blackout did not and still does not have any of these problems, and that's why I firmly believe it is just the superior game, and why I think it should just be brought back. The current developers at Treyarch attempted to fix some of the issues with Warzone by adding in a casual mode, where 80% of the players are AI bots, but this is just a band-aid solution to the problem, because all of the sweats who played in the normal playlist simply just moved over to casual, and now casual is just a total cheating sweat fest. Basically nothing has changed.
Alright, so in this clip, I'm using the Voyak. I want to show you this because it's a lot of recoil. Now, it's not a completely stock Voyak. It has some attachments, it has a compressor and a sight on it, but it's fine, whatever. But why is it getting this much recoil? I'm not doing that much movement on the stick. I've done the overlay thing before. It doesn't really prove anything. But here, I get killed by a guy using a Voyak. Look how fucking crispy that is. Look at this. Show it to you again. There's just no recoil until the end. Just perfect headshots. If you ask me, this is over 50 meters. No recoil from this distance. It's pretty crazy. Death by movement demon. Death even though I have specialist. Death because he knows where I'm at. Now this, again, the hitbox. You can obviously see it getting stuck on an invisible box. So unfortunately, as far as upping the aim sensitivity and lowering the aim curve, it really does not help the situation with the hitbox. There's no way! Wow. I am just so tired of this game. I can't even begin to describe or put into words how I feel. But if you look closely here, this is the end game. There's like 12 players left. I slow it down. When I get on center, it kicks to the right really bad, right here. And then I just can't get back on center. It's like stuck on a wall. I get through the wall, go to the other side. Dude, I dare you to put it in the comments that this is weapon flinch. It's not, my dude. So here, probably got another TikTok movement demon streamer motherfucker. These are all matches that are taking place after the Haven's Hollow win. I mean, there is nothing genuine about Call of Duty Warzone. This is bullshit. It's a fucking scam. Look at this. Hitbox issues. Doesn't matter what I change in the settings. I'm just getting my ass caved in. SBMM shows mercy to no man.
I honestly wonder if Blackout would still be supported if not for Warzone, and if it was actually supported for longer than a year. Activision Blizzard has a very famous reputation for abandoning their old games just to get you to buy the new ones. I also think that locking this battle royale behind a paywall, requiring you to purchase Black Ops 4 in order to play it, instead of just making it free to play, is what hurt the player numbers in the long run. It's crazy to think that in 2026, they still never made this game free to play. Why not? Did they think that it would take away players from Warzone? Did they consider it to be a failure? Because every person I've ever spoken to says that they love Blackout and wish that it would be brought back. This is yet again Activision Blizzard having this amazing game in their hands, seeing fully well how much potential it has, and simply just leaving it out in the sun to rot, and then taking a massive diarrhea dump on it just for good measure. Activision has to be the most incompetent and tone-deaf corporation I have ever seen in the gaming industry, right next to the likes of EA and Konami. Say what you wish about Black Ops Royale, but it's not Blackout, and it never will be. Blackout is in a whole other league of its own, and I'm happy to have played it as much as I did during its prime, long before I even got a PC and didn't even know how to use a keyboard to play games. Last but not least, I want to talk about zombies, because I think that it's pretty special in this game as well. I'm gonna be blunt here, I am terrible at COD Zombies. I never really was a big zombies fan. I barely know how to do the Easter eggs, and I've barely paid any attention to the chaos and Aether stories. All I desire when I boot up COD Zombies is to just shoot zombies and survive as long as possible. This is the exact same way that I've always played this mode since all the way back in World at War, so I am probably the least qualified person to have a very in-depth critique of zombies, especially in this game's case. There is so much backstory about the troubled development and cut zombies content that I would be here for the next 3 hours or so. This video would be easily dominated by just zombies, and I already have a lot that I want to talk about. I want to try my best anyway, because while I did research for this video, I learned a whole lot and I now have a newfound appreciation for what Treyarch has done. The story behind Black Ops 4 Zombies and how it came to be is just as tragic as what happened to the Scrap campaign. It is the definitive poster child for wasted opportunity, not just in the entire game, but in the Black Ops series as a whole. This was meant to be the biggest Zombies experience that we would ever get. Everyone was promised that it would receive years of support, but if you noticed a recurring theme in this video, that never came to fruition. Black Ops 3 Zombies, along with its Chronicles DLC, is considered to be the gold standard when it comes to COD Zombies, and Black Ops 4 was actually meant to surpass that. There is no denying that this was the most hyped Zombies game of all time, and that was both of the developers and the fans' own volition. So obviously everyone was going to make a bunch of comparisons to previous Zombies experiences.
After taking down literally thousands of zombies, it turns out that you have earned the right to make up your own rules and play the game the way you want to play it. So we're going to provide you with customizable tools and social systems to evolve zombies into a evergreen mode for daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly engagement.
BO4 Zombies was shooting for the moon, and yet the developers were simply just not able to fully deliver on all of the promises that were made to us. So I'm going to attempt to dissect why. Let's start with the cut content. At launch there were 4 entire Zombies maps without requiring any DLC, which was a huge deal back then. We got 2 maps in the all-new Chaos story, which were 9 and Voyage of Despair, and 2 other maps part of the Aether story, Blood of the Dead, which is a remake of Mob of the Dead from Black Ops 1, and Classified, which is a remake of 5 from Black Ops 1. Originally, the game was going to release only Chaos storyline maps throughout year 1, but then the team decided to double back on this decision out of fear that the fans will be absolutely livid, and so they decided to go with this duplex/combination model and tell each story at the same time. A lot of people considered this to be a crucial mistake because the Chaos storyline was far overshadowed by the Aether storyline because it was in its final act, almost an entire decade in the making, and everyone was glued to their seats in anticipation to see its conclusion. Black Ops 4 was actually supposed to have its own Zombies Chronicles DLC just like with Black Ops 3 Zombies, which would include proper remakes of 5, Die Rise, Nuketown, Call of the Dead, Buried, and Green Run. The Aether story was also actually not meant to end on Tactor Toten, but instead on a sort of reimagining of Black Ops 2 Origins, where you would have been able to fight in the Great War against Monty, which was actually teased in cutscenes from earlier maps.
You 4 must come with us. In time, it will make sense. But now...
Intruders on the base. Hangar 4.
Now we must go, quickly. There is a war to be fought.
War? What kind of war?
A war unlike any you have ever seen. The Great War.
There were also supposed to be some cutscenes released for the map Alpha Omega, as well as a DLC 3 for the Chaos storyline that would have featured a map that would take place in Atlantis. There were even supposed to be factions in the game, along with an artifact mechanic, but never made it either. Then there was supposed to be the return of the 8-player Grief mode from Black Ops 2, but considering that barely anyone played it back then, and it was just straight up ass in Black Ops 6, I don't think that's much of a loss to be honest. There were also a handful of hidden rooms in each map, but all never made it to the final game, but these areas still exist in the game's files, so you can use mods to access these areas. There was also a planned Zombies mini-boss, cosmetics you can earn from playing, and a special camo called Singularity, but this never made it either. There was a noticeable dip in quality once Alpha Omega and Tactor Toten released, and this is mainly due to the team at Treyarch being pulled away mid-development and being assigned to start working on Black Ops Cold War, and therefore the maps will be finished by a different studio at Activision. I played Ancient Evil, and then Alpha Omega, and then Tactor Toten back to back to back, and even I can see that these 2 latter maps just don't feel as good to play on as Ancient Evil. That isn't to say these are bad maps. Now let's talk about the Elixir and perk systems. I think that these systems sound good on paper, but in practice I honestly think that what this game has is inferior to what we had in Black Ops 3, and I'll explain why. For starters, you can only carry up to 4 elixirs instead of the 5 gobblegums in Black Ops 3, and secondly, I think the gobblegum mechanic is a brilliantly in-depth system that brings layers of strategy and replayability that were not present in previous Zombies games. How it works in Black Ops 3 is that you can equip up to 5 gobblegums, and the order in which you get them from the machine is randomized every match. However, it's not possible to get duplicate gums. So once you obtain the 5th gum, then the order goes back to the first gum you obtained. So say for example Perkaholic is the first gum you get from the machine, then once you obtain every other gum, then you just get Perkaholic again, and the cycle repeats. But it goes further. You can get 1 free gum per round, but But then after that, if you want more gum, then you gotta pay points, and it gets more and more expensive the more you keep using the machine, but it goes even further than that. Only one gum can be activated at a time. Some are activated automatically under certain conditions, others you have to press a button to activate it. What this all does is provide a very in-depth layer of strategy, where you have to make split decisions if you want to use the machine to get some quick gums, but then sacrifice your cash for them, or just be patient and get them for free, but then you won't be getting that specific gum you want as quickly. So if you time this correctly, you can gain a major advantage in your survival against the Zeds if you manipulate the system to give you the gums that you want at a specific moment, especially during those high rounds. And also if you have an extremely rare mega gum like a Perkaholic for example, which are gums that you can only have a finite amount of, and you have a bad run and you don't want to lose it, you can just quit the game and you won't permanently lose the gum. It's a very overlooked system that not enough credit is given towards, but only recently did I actually start to understand and appreciate it. But now here in Black Ops 4, all of that has just been thrown out of the window. You can only carry 4 elixirs and they're no longer randomized like the gobblegums. Instead now you can stack them together and then you just press a button and you use whatever elixir you want to use, which again, on paper this doesn't sound like a bad idea, but it means all of the strategy and nuance is just removed when you can just press a button whenever you want to, which also isn't helped by the specialist weapons. In Black Ops 3, the specialist weapons like the Bull for example had to be earned from completing puzzles around the map, but now in this game you just equip whatever specialist weapon you want to use, you start off at round 1 with them, and they run on cooldowns, meaning they never go away. So whenever you get into a sticky situation, you just yet again press a button, pull out your specialist weapon, and just annihilate everything that's on the screen. So now we have elixirs and specialist weapons, which are basically 2 different get out of jail free cards. There are also nowhere near as many elixirs as gobblegums, and that's because Treyarch decided to completely overhaul the perk system, including removing the Juggernaut perk and instead just letting everyone have 200 HP right at the start, which kind of removes that tense feeling in the early rounds when you only have 150 HP and needing to get the Juggernaut perk as soon as possible so you can gain a significant amount of survival, which is a core part of the whole progression system that zombie games have. And being able to quit the game if you don't want to lose your elixirs doesn't work. These are all just downgrades to what Black Ops 3 had. Treyarch also added a create a class system into the game where you can equip perks, elixirs, specialist weapons, talismans, and your starting weapon. You can also equip attachments to your weapon, which makes them stronger, especially once you pack-a-punch them. And speaking of the pack-a-punch, I'm also really not keen on how it works in this game either. Now, to fully upgrade your weapon, you have to use the pack-a-punch not once, not twice, but 4 times. I like the idea of being able to equip what you want and make custom builds for your character, but at the same time, I think all of this makes the game way too easy now, and that's probably because the Easter egg requirements that you have to do are some of the biggest ball breakers in the entire series. You can make the argument that I'm playing on Project BO4, and therefore I have access to as many elixirs as I want, along with all the talismans, weapon attachments, etc. But even then, all of these systems in Tangent drastically changed how the core gameplay of zombies is, and I wouldn't say it's for the better. I'd much rather this than the pure diarrhea that MW3 and Vanguard zombies have, but I think Black Ops 3 is the perfect medium. But there's another problem. I did research on some of these Easter eggs, and they have some of the stupidest puzzles I have ever seen. The best example of this is some of the shit you have to do on Voyage of Despair. What in the holy mother of shit were they thinking with this? Then there's another problem, which is respawning zombies. They added a timer to how long it takes for zombies to respawn, so if you leave a zombie alive because you want to do the Easter eggs and you don't want the zombies to be constantly gangbanging you while you're trying to do so, you just can't anymore. The game also has something known as custom mutations, and yet for some godforsaken reason, if you have them turned on, then it disables the ability to do the Easter eggs. I can see if they did this in order to make it so that you can't cheese your way to doing the Easter eggs easier, or maybe it's the opposite and that having custom mutations on would break the Easter eggs. But then why even have the custom mutations at all at that point if it doesn't serve the benefit of anyone who wants to complete the Easter eggs? Why not make it so that once you complete the Easter egg, then you could go all gung-ho with the mutation system? There is one last final thing that makes Black Ops 4 Zombies unable to truly reach the amazing heights of Black Ops 3. The biggest wasted opportunity to be just as good, if not better, than Black Ops 3 Zombies, if Activision Blizzard even remotely gave a shit. This isn't even the fault of the developers. That final thing being the complete absence of modded content. I only started getting into the modded zombie scene for Black Ops 3 very recently, and I'm honestly stunned that I ignored it for all these years. Black Ops 3 has Steam Workshop support, which means the community have created custom zombies maps, and installing them is stupidly easy. These modded maps are by far some of the greatest zombies content I've ever experienced. These maps are absolutely insane. The Cabin from the Evil Dead, Ski Resort, Wanted, which is a spaghetti western map with 19th century weaponry, Water Park Zombies, The Last of Us Left Behind, Isle of Cthulhu. These are all incredible maps. I mean, for Christ's sake, there's a Star Wars map with the blasters and the sound effects and everything. Black Ops 4 has none of this. Why? Because it's on Battle.net, and Battle.net doesn't have mod support at all. In fact, if you try to use mods, then your account might get banned. This is yet another reason why it genuinely blows my mind that this game still just isn't put onto Steam. This has to be one of the biggest wastes of potential of all time. You have a very dedicated community that would actually put in the time to create some amazing mods for everyone to enjoy. Your game would make more sales. Is this not what you want? This is the exact reason why so many people still buy and play Black Ops 3. It's because of the modded zombie scene. I'm using up a bunch of hard drive space because I myself have gotten obsessed with it. Playing on these maps with friends has resulted in some of my most favorite moments playing this franchise. Black Ops 4 does not deserve to be treated this way. By keeping it on Battle.net for all of these years, Activision is doing both the community and themselves a massive disservice because actions speak louder than words, and what this says to me is that they just do not care about their legacy titles. They would much rather let them die and fade into obscurity and stop the community from ever being able to properly revive them if it means that they don't lose another $70 sale on a new game, $30 on their Black Cell Battle Passes, and $20 on a fucking Nicki Minaj skin. It's utterly pathetic. Now the question is, do I enjoy Black Ops 4 Zombies? And the answer is yes. I think that it's a pretty solid mode. It's not as good as Black Ops 3 Zombies, which is honestly an impossible task at this stage, but it is serviceable enough. It is nowhere near the absolute monstrosity that is Modern Warfare 3 and Vanguard Zombies. I've played a lot of this both solo and with friends, and it's a genuinely good time. Black Ops 4 is the poster child for wasted opportunity. It was the most hyped Call of Duty game to date. The expectations that hardcore fans had were numerous, but what we ended up getting is a far cry from those showcases, due to a bunch of promises that weren't upheld, half-baked ideas, mismanagement out the ass, and Activision constantly getting in the way of its true potential. It feels unfinished in quite a handful of areas. Despite how well this game has sold, Treyarch and Activision must have thought that this game was a failure, hence why they have never decided to make another game like it again. Does that mean that Black Ops 4 is a bad game? No, I don't think so. I always think to myself, what if we actually did get the campaign? What if they actually did decide to turn the game into a full-on hero shooter / tactical shooter that doesn't play like the other games? What if Zombies was able to deliver on even half of the promises that were made? In a perfect world, I wouldn't even have to ask these questions, and it's very hard to keep those questions out of my head as I play. But the problem with this is that thinking about the what-ifs takes away from thinking about what the game is. I consider myself to be a very big fan of this game, and only as I've been doing all of my research and writing out all of my notes did I truly start to think about what the game is and not what it could be. With that in mind, with how many different Call of Duty games there are, and the fact that almost 8 more Call of Duty games have come out since Black Ops 4, I have to sit here and say that what we have is good enough. Don't get me wrong, it has a lot of problems, and it clearly got rushed out the door before the developers were able to release something that fans will remember for the rest of time. But even despite that, this is not the only game in the series that has had a bunch of cut content. This franchise is full of games that have come out unfinished and haven't delivered on the promises that were made. Even games like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, the original Modern Warfare trilogy, etc. Everyone called Modern Warfare 3 2011 a disappointment when it first came out, but now all these years later, it's considered to be one of the best COD games of all time. Same with Black Ops 3. Everyone hates the campaign, and people still don't like the campaign now. And no one liked the exosuits, but over time it grew on them, considering that we now have dumpster fires like Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7. It's a constant cycle that will always keep repeating itself. Black Ops 4 has changed the way that I now look at the Call of Duty series. It's a game that encourages you to take in all of the bad with all of the good elements. I don't think that it's a failure. I do have a lot of fun with this game, and over the years it has started to receive more and more appreciation from the community, which honestly makes me happy. There is a common misconception that the Call of Duty series was dying, and that Modern Warfare 2019 was the game that saved it. And yet, MW 2019 barely made any more money than COD World War II and Black Ops 4. COD World War II made $500 million in its first 3 days of launch. Black Ops 4 also made $500 million in the first 3 days, and MW 2019 made a bit over $600 million in the first 3 days, only $100 million more than World War II and Black Ops 4. So how exactly is this moving the needle and saving the COD series? Modern Warfare 2 2022 made $800 million in its first 3 days, and reached $1 billion within just 10 days, making it the fastest selling Call of Duty game in franchise history. and yet it's considered by many fans to be the worst COD game of all time, and the player numbers completely nosedived as soon as they figured out what this game truly was, which is just nostalgia bait. This is definitive proof that sales don't always equate to quality. Even a game like Infinite Warfare, which was massively hated on prior to its launch, to the point that its reveal trailer is one of the most disliked YouTube videos in history, was still the best-selling game of that year, even though 2016 was the year we also got Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, Doom 2016, Uncharted 4, Dark Souls 3, Mafia 3, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and Overwatch. As a matter of fact, Call of Duty has always been the best-selling game every single year for almost 2 decades, apart from any Rockstar game like GTA and Red Dead. So again, where is this narrative coming from that MW 2019 revived the COD series? All of this to me just sounds like revisionist history. I do want Blackout to be brought back as free-to-play and separate from the main game, and I certainly want the game to be put on Steam so that the community can make modded content for it, which isn't going to happen with the current piece of shit leadership at Activision Blizzard. Black Ops 4 is a game that teaches you to have fun, which is an extreme rarity in the newer games, designed to feel more like casinos to suck out as much money from you as humanly possible, rather than just making a good game that people would like to play. It's a game that takes me back to a much simpler time, where I didn't have anywhere near as many adult responsibilities as I do now, and I had close family who weren't anywhere near as sick as they would become years later. Call of Duty as a series has completely nosedived in terms of community goodwill and overall enjoyment over the last several years, no matter how much they decide to put these newer games on major discounts. But thanks to the incredible people who brought this game back from the dead, thanks to Project BO4, I can relive those happier memories again for however long I want to. This franchise is in desperate need of a complete restructure. It needs to completely overhaul its matchmaking system, its map design, its audio, its monetization system, its anti-cheat, and its yearly release schedule, which is practically killing the developers who are making these games. None of this is going to happen with the current leadership at Activision. MW4 does look a bit promising, considering that it has red dots on the minimap again, dead silence is a perk, no disbanding lobbies, no update requires restart bullshit, no omni movement, theater mode, classic prestige, map voting, and the classic perk system. But these are all things that we already had in previous games. These are all things that never should have been changed to begin with. So why should we give credit to Activision and Infinity Ward for creating problems that the series never had before, but then they decide to turn around and sell us the solution? The game is still going to have its very strict skill-based matchmaking, and they're removing Hipfire Bloom, which again, why change what has been a staple of the COD series for 2 decades straight? Having no Hipfire Bloom means that the game will be full of Quake 3 arena movement demon sweats. It won't even play like COD anymore if I could just play like this. People love to criticize the current COD devs for not innovating enough, but if I was to be brutally honest with you, Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 is the peak, and those games came out in 2012 and 2015 respectively. Since then, the COD series has been constantly trying to change itself, and nowadays the series is barely recognizable from what it used to be. We need to rewind, which I'm hoping MW4 is doing, but I'm not holding my breath. These guys already lost my trust. Despite how truly awful these games have become now, I always have a game like Black Ops 4 to go back to. It's the reason I am still very passionate towards this series, and I only wish for it to be better, and I'm not planning on forgetting about it anytime soon. Black Ops 4 is the reason I still love Call of Duty.